this is Yugandhi welcoming you to my channel's Minutes Biology. So in this video we'll be discussing about the MCQ questions that will be asked in Neet from the first chapter in the 11th grade biology. So the first chapter is the living world. So in this video the entire MCQ questions from this chapter will be discussed. So please do watch the video till the end. So in exam point of view, there will be no questions from this first paragraph. It is just an introduction. So now coming to the first MCQ. See, increase in mass and increase in number of individuals or the twin characteristics of growth. So this might be asked in the NEET. So the question may be the twin characteristics of growth are. So increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. Coming to the second MCQ, though it is not that much important, but it is of course worth to know that. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. This might be asked in NEET. Coming to the third MCQ, growth cannot be taken as a defining property of living organisms. The reason is given in the above lines. Since this video is just a quick revision of the biology, I am not discussing those stuffs, just I am mentioning those MCQs that might be asked in the NEET. Coming to the fourth MCQ, so fungi multiply and spread easily due to the millions of asexual spores they produce. Asexual spores. Fungi reproduce by means of asexual spores. Fifth MCQ. In lower organisms like yeast and hydra, we observe budding. So yeast and hydra reproduce through budding. Next MCQ. Planaria flatworms. They reproduce by means of fragmentation. And that type of regeneration is called as true regeneration because each and every fragmented part it becomes a whole organism, whole new organism. Now coming to the seventh MCQ. Reproduction. It cannot be an inclusive defining characteristic of living organisms. So we already saw that growth is also not a defining characteristics of living organisms, and of course the reproduction is not also the defining property of the living organism. Of course reproduction is a characteristic of living organism, but it is not a defining characteristics of living organisms. We must understand the difference between the two, and the reason is given in the above lines. If needed, you can check that out. Coming to the eighth MCQ. Cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of life forms. So this is one of the defining feature of life forms. As we already saw that growth and reproduction, though it is a characteristic of living organisms, it cannot be concluded as the defining feature because of many reasons, but the cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of life forms. Coming to the ninth MCQ, consciousness. Consciousness is also the defining property of the organisms, living organisms. Now coming to the 10th MCQ, the number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million species are existing on this earth. Coming to the next MCQ, a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. And this process of naming the organism by the same name all over the world is called as nomenclature. Then describing the organism correctly and sorting out that what name must be given to that organism according to its behavior and its characteristics is called as identification. Then expansions for some abbreviations will be asked in the NEET MCQ. So the expansion for ICBN is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. This might be asked in the NEET examination. Then ICZN, expansion of ICZN, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. The next MCQ is system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. So see, in binomial nomenclature there are two components, right? Binomial nomenclature, there are two components. One is the generic name and the other one is the specific epithet, such that the generic name is followed by the specific epithet. This system of binomial nomenclature was given by Carolus Linnaeus. See, the binomial nomenclature of mango, the scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. This can also be asked in MCQ. See, the binomial name of mango is Mangifera indica. See, as I already mentioned that the binomial nomenclature involves two components. One is the generic name and the other one is the specific epithet. So let us see. Mangifera indica. Mangifera indica. And this Mangifera represents the generic name and the indica represents the specific epithet. So an MCQ point of view, all these 4 points are very much important. You must know all these 4 rules in order to attend the questions related to this binomial nomenclature, right? So binomial names are generally in Latin. So they are generally in Latin and written in italics. Then the first word in the biological name represents the genus, that is the generic name, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. So when these biological name are handwritten, both the words, that is the generic name and the specific epithet, both are separately underlined or printed in italics. When printed, it is printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Then the first word denoting the genus, so it always starts with the capital letter. So see here, the Mangifera indica, the binomial name of mango, in that Mangifera denotes the generic name, so it always starts with the capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with the small letter. These 4 points are very important, so please do concentrate on this. Coming to the next MCQ, classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characteristics. So then these are just the general topics. So it is impossible to learn all the living organisms, and that's what it is categorized into different categories. So the scientific term used for these categories is taxa. Classifying all the living organisms based on its characteristics into different taxa, it is called as taxonomy. So this can be asked. The process of classification of the living organisms is called as. This can be asked. So based on the characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa, and this process of classification is called as taxonomy. Coming to the next MCQ. So the branch of study of relationship among the living organisms is called as systematics. Branch of studying relationships among different organisms is called as systematics. And this word, it is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systemic arrangement of the living organisms. Then this is very important question. Systema Naturae was published by Carolus Linnaeus. So this paragraph, it entirely deals with the taxonomic category, taxonomic hierarchy and taxons or taxa. So please do read this topic in order to understand all the taxonomic categories. Since it is just a revision video, I am not just discussing that all those stuffs. Please do read if needed. Coming to the next MCQ. So individual organisms with fundamental similarities is called as species. That taxonomic category is called as species. Then each of the biological name can be asked in the MCQ. So for example, Mangifera indica represents the mango. Then Solanum tuberosum refers to potato. Then Panthera leo refers to lime. So by this time you all might know that the second word in all these biological names refers to the specific epithets. And then this basic concept is also very much important. See, each genus may have one or more than one specific epithets. So for example, Panthera, for this genus there may be many specific epithets like tigress or leo. Tigress representing the tiger and leo representing the lion. And here you could see that human beings, they are referred as Homo sapiens in biological name.